So yesterday I read the news that the one and only Sycho Sid passed away, real name being Sid Eudy, and it kind of hit me a bit hard at first because I was like, he can't be that old. He was in the new generation era, which was Triple H, HBK, Bret Hart, and I don't consider those guys too old. So when I found out he was only 63, I was like, that's pretty damn young and sad. But the more sad thing is, that just might be higher than the average for the pro wrestler passing away, sadly. But you know what? Sid was great. He is most notably known for his run in the WWE and also WCW, but he worked for other companies too. And he was a big man. He was billed at 6'9", 320 pounds. And when you watch this guy, like when I watched him as a kid during that new generation era, he looked every bit of those 320 pounds, and he stood toe to toe with The Undertaker. So I'm like, yeah, this guy, he's legit. He faced guys like The Undertaker, the Big Van Vader, the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels. And one of my favorite memories of Sid was his short main event run in the WWE from 1996 to 1997. He adopted the personality of being the master and the ruler of the world. His theme music starting off with that classic horror sound effect from Psycho. It would follow with this creepy tone. It had unsettling background noises as Sid would have this dead stare look in his eyes, looking into the crowd. His bleach blonde curly hair. It was short, but it was like doused in water. It was dripping off his face onto his large, hulking like body. But he looked athletic. He looked strong. And he would walk down the ramp just looking at everybody with this deadpan stare. He kind of looked like the final boss out of a video game. You know, he's wearing black everything, the black vest, black boots. And it's like, you got to face this guy at the end of the day. You know you're in for a hell of a run. So, that's got to bring me to his match with the one and only Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid. And this match was from the 1996 Survivor Series in New York City at none other than Madison Square Garden. And Shawn Michaels was my favorite of all time. He is my favorite of all time. And at this time, I was all about HBK. He won the title in the Iron Man match against Bret Hart at WrestleMania 12. And that was a great match. It was just earlier that year in April. So Survivor Series happened in November of 96. So we had a few months of HBK being champion. But the thing is, even though I loved HBK, and a lot of people did, and he was booked as a babyface, a good guy basically, there's that story and that feeling you get sometimes, when you want to see the hero fail or go down. And I kind of had that feeling. Think of Bane and Batman. When Bane finally just beat the shit out of Batman, he lifted him and he broke Batman against his knee. I mean, that was a badass moment in my opinion. So when this started to happen, the feud between HBK and Sid, the more I wanted to see HBK take him on because Sid looked like such a big and threatening test, you know what I mean? But also, the more I saw of Sid, the more I wanted him to kick Shawn's ass. I was encapsulated by Sid, and I was like, this guy, he's kind of cool, and I think he could really whoop Shawn from pillar to post. So as he walked down the ramp at MSG, he had that dead look in his eyes. He was totally focused, in the zone, covered in sweat and water, and he would stare down into the crowd and lift his arms in the air, and he would say, "Who's the man?" over and over. "Who's the man? Who's the man?" And the fans were cheering for him. They were sticking their hands out like in a fist, and what Sid would do, he would stick out his fist too, and he'd be fist bumping everybody. And I think this is when fist bumping started to become popular, or I don't know if I'm wrong or not, but this was in the mid 90s, and It was like pretty cool and new to fist bump, I think. So Sid was just like fist bumping everybody. Everybody in the front row had their arms out. And he's like, "Who's the man? Who's the man?" And, he had JR, Vince McMahon on commentary, hyping him up. And he would walk down slowly to the ring. And the fans of New York were behind this guy. Like, even though he was booked as the mega heel, they wanted this guy to win. At least, like, the majority of them, I would say. And it was really cool. It was basically the great battle of the big, tall, powerful, but slow-moving big man against the smaller, athletic, fast on his feet champion. So we had that. And during the match, it was pretty back and forth. Sid did a couple things to cheat here and there, but the fans were still behind him. And eventually, Sid ended up hitting Shawn Michaels with the released powerbomb, his finisher. And as that happened, it came to the moment that I love most about this match. You could look out in the front row as Sid powerbombs Michaels, and there's this young woman in the crowd in the front row, and she has to be like maybe a young teen or something. She has this look on her face that's like totally concerned as Sid begins to cover Shawn. And I believe the ref was Earl Hebner. He was injured from a bump before, so he's slowly making this his way over to the pinfall. And the look on this girl's face is just totally sad, and she can't believe what's happening. And then Earl starts to count really slow because he's injured, right? So he's like, 1, 2. And the look on this girl's face as Earl's hand is coming down for the 3 is just totally sad disbelief. And she screams, "No!" as the 3 count has happened. It was gold. It was so good. Sycho Sid has just crushed her dreams, and he's crushed the Heartbreak Kid into the mat. And you see a ton of the crowd go wild, especially a lot of guys. They all raised their hands like, yeah! They were like so stoked that Sid just beat HBK for the title. The villain has basically become the anti-hero. And at this moment, Sid went outside the ring to the barricade, and he would go up to fans again, sticking his fist out, being like, "Who's the man? Who's the man?" And every time he would say that, the fans would yell back, "You are! You are!" And they all be like bumping fists together. It's such a cool moment in New York City, Madison Square Garden. It's what I believe to be maybe Sid's best match of his whole career. And definitely it's my favorite moment of his, I would say. It's just unforgettable. It's so good. And Sid was a great guy. Great career and great person too, from the sounds of it. And sad to see him go. Rest in peace, Sid. Thank you for the memories. Take care.